I want to bring in now Gershon Baskin. He is the Middle East director of the International Communities Organization, a human rights advocacy group. For nearly 2 decades, he was extensively involved with hostage negotiations between Hamas and Israel. Gershon, good to have you back on the show. The truce has expired and Israeli airstrikes on Gaza have resumed. What does this mean for the remaining hostages?
It's not a happy picture for them. I certainly think that they're in a difficult situation. It's been torturous watching every night as we've seen hostages being released by the drops by Hamas, making it at the last hour possible in order to keep the truce in place. And last night, when they were supposed to submit another list of names, they simply didn't. Or they tried to include within a list of names of live hostages the bodies of hostages that they claim have been killed. Not only has the bombardment of Gaza begun again, but rocket fire by Hamas into Israel has resumed, as well as rocket fire from the north, from Lebanon into Israel has resumed.
Gershon, the New York Times, you may know this, has a report that Israeli officials had a blueprint for the October 7th attacks about a year ago, but officials dismissed it. What more do you know about this, and what is your reaction to it?
It's very possible that this report could have been submitted to the intelligence community. It could have been looked at and evaluated. Israel's general attitude toward Hamas is one of arrogance. They've underestimated Hamas always. And certainly on October 7th, Hamas surprised Israel dramatically and proved how weak Israel's defenses were on the Gaza border. But that's less of a result of an intelligence failure, in my understanding, and much more of a much wider political failure.
Gershon, another thing I want to touch on is this negotiation with the terror group Hamas in order to get the hostages back. Of course, Israel has vowed to destroy Hamas. So that being said, how does Israel bridge the gap on this?
It's a gap which is almost unbridgeable. I think Israel will try, with the help of the United States and Qatar and Egypt, to get the remaining civilian hostages out, including the 17 women and children and whatever elderly men and younger elderly men and men who are not soldiers through a negotiated agreement. So I think we're going to see Israel relying much more on intelligence gathering and search and rescue operations to bring the remaining hostages out, and hopefully they will succeed, at least with some of them.
And some of the hostages that have been released, they've talked about their time in captivity. Some of them talking, especially children, the stories of them being beaten and not knowing where their families were or if they were alive or dead, and being threatened with a gun just to keep quiet. When they return, Gershon, I mean, what happens to these children? What kind of help is given to them and the other hostages to kind of get back to life as normal if they can?
I think they will be traumatized for the rest of their lives, but I think that Israel is very good in knowing how to provide them with every assistance that's possible. They're certainly being embraced by the entire country who's behind them and supporting them. And it will take a long time. They will need a lot of psychological care and a lot of listening to them and getting them to be able to tell their stories and be understood. Certainly for the young children, it must be devastating.
Yeah, it certainly is. The extended truce did allow dozens of hostages to be released, primarily women and children. What's the end game here for Hamas? What do you think?
I think that they believe that this is just another round of warfare, more severe than it's been since 2008. But my assessment is that the leaders of Hamas in Gaza believe that the international pressure will be placed on Israel to end the war with them still in control of Gaza, and they will emerge from the tunnels and declare victory. That is a very unlikely scenario. I've never seen the resolve in Israel of what it is today to make sure that Hamas never is able to rule Gaza again and to threaten Israel. But I think that there is total resolve in Israel to not end this war with Hamas in place in Gaza.
Gershon, good to be with you again, and thank you so much for your insights. We appreciate it.
Thank you.